Hello, everyone. Welcome to eLearnChat, where it's all about learning. My name is Rick Zanotti, and I'm joined today by our special co-host. It is Dr. Susan Nash. And Leslie couldn't make it today. We'll see her back soon, one of these days. I know when the time schedule works out, we will have her back. Do visit her website. It's learnappeal.org.uk. And while we are at it, Dr. Susan Nash, Susan's website is the eLearning Corgi. eLearningCorgi.com. Check it out. And also take a look at the eLearning Developer Forum. Very soon we will have, we've got a lot of content up there already and more coming. Susan's eLearning's A to Z is coming up. That's fun. So we're going to have that up probably next week and some other stuff. And let's see, Harold Muliati is in studio with me, and he is our video producer. Our guest today, the man who put sexy into xAPI. If you can picture that one, that could be interesting. Here we go. Anthony Altieri. And that's a nice segue to nothing. What happened there? Our playlist didn't work. So anyway, this show is sponsored by Relay Corporation. That's us. That's what we do. We have fun with this, and I hope you do too. So Anthony Altieri is our guest today. He's back for a second appearance, and he is a well-known xAPI expert, or xAPI, Experience API, whatever you want to call it. And he's going to be talking about xAPI and LMSs and why. Why do we need these, and what are we going to do with them? How you doing today, Anthony?
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
I'm doing really well. It's a good day. We're windy as hell out here in Southern California. It's dry. 2 days ago it was 38 degrees and cold at night, and now it's 89 today. Go figure.
It was 38 and snowing here. You're breaking my heart.
I know. But the dryness is ugly. It's bad. Trust me. It's not good for you. Yeah. Our eyes are like nose, eyes. You can't breathe. It's so dry. I don't know what I like better, snow or wind. I think snow, but I grew up in New York, so I guess I'm a little prejudiced that way. So snow didn't bother me too much. But so Anthony, why do people want LMSs? Everybody complains about their LMS. That's one of the givens. Nobody likes their. I rarely hear anybody say, "I love my LMS." Everybody goes, "I hate my LMS. I hate this. I hate that." But what's the real problem with the LMS? And for that matter, with what's the solution that xAPI is going to provide, or is it the same? Is it just going to be hated like the other LMSs? What do you think?
Well, so you're talking about two separate but parallel issues.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll address the LMS first. The LMS, it's kind of viewed as a necessary evil.
Right.
The reality is, especially in America, I can't speak for other countries, but in America, we have our very good friends whom we all love and appreciate greatly in the wonderful organization known as OSHA. Hi, guys. They have all these compliance courses, obviously, that we have to comply with. We have to make sure that people are certified. We have to make sure that people are licensed, that whatever training must happen for health and safety compliance is probably the biggest. We have to make sure all of these things are done. And the purpose of the LMS, or learning management system, is to provide an easy vector by which we can deliver that training or make that training accessible to the employees, or I'll say students, employees, members, what have you. So I'll just generically, I'll say students. So the purpose of the LMS, the reality is, at the end of the day, the LMS is an Excel spreadsheet hiding behind a Rube Goldberg device.
That's a good way to put it.
Because, at the end of the day, it's what it is. It's a list of, these are all the employees or students, and these are all the classes they've taken. These are all the accreditation. This is all the stuff they've earned. right? Their licenses, their certificates, etc. Really, that's all it is. The thing that's in front, the LMS, just gives us a front end to get to that training, be it online learning or enrolling into an instructor-led class or an ILT. That's really the purpose of an LMS, is to make that easier.
Mm-hmm.
One of the biggest problems with the LMS, though, is people don't really know. I'm trying to be diplomatic when I say this, because it's not really anybody's fault, but people don't really know what an LMS is. They don't know what it's supposed to be. So, and this is everyone. So you end up getting an LMS system like a Saba, like a Cornerstone, like a Plateau, that is really a talent management system. You've got HR modules, you've got training modules, you've got promotion track modules, you've got C-suite module. You have all this stuff. Okay, if you've added a spell checker to your learning management system, you might have gone a little too far. But I mean, you look at some of these monolithic LMSs have chat clients.
Mm-hmm.
So they try to be everything. And the net result is the LMS falls into the Microsoft Works category of products, if you remember Microsoft Works.
Yep.
And if you don't, there's a really good reason why you don't.
And for those who don't remember Microsoft, it did a lot of things badly.
Yes. It had a lot of breadth and no depth.
No.
It was all the most basic parts of Word, Excel, PowerPoint, and a database, and a draw program. Was there a draw program? I can't remember.
I don't think so. No, that came with Windows proper.
Paint. I think it had Paint in it.
It did have Paint in it?
It may have. I don't know.
Yeah, it may have, but I thought that came with Windows anyway.
Right.
That's true.
Well,
it had something.
I have a question, but thinking of that, I mean, I have a question. Okay, my view of LMSs is a little different because I use them in education as well. I mean, higher ed, and then I've also tried to use them, like cheap possible solutions. So I think people try to use the LMSs as a content management system, and that overburdens it. But then what you're talking about, it's so interesting to try Google Classroom, which is integrating all these things like you're talking about, Microsoft Office, et cetera, and how many limitations there are in that when you think that would be the easiest and best approach, because it automatically, your docs are all, it builds in the content management with Google Docs and
but that's a little different from an LMS in terms of tracking and doing all the other stuff. It's part of it.
It does it.
It does it. Okay.
It's very stripped down. It's not like a Canvas or Blackboard but I mean, I see that. Yeah, the tracking, the integration. I agree that I like what you're saying about basically it's a portal that allows everything to come together, but it doesn't necessarily integrate well. And then you've got like million clicks to everything and so clunky.
Yeah. And like I said, so then you've got, and now this becomes a self-feeding fire because you've got all these integrated functions or self-integrated functions. I should be careful because she brings up a good point. We have all these self-integrated functions. Well, now the costs go up. So now companies have to justify these costs. So, okay, shove everything into that LMS that you possibly can. And
well, Anthony, don't you find it odd? And Anthony, don't you find it odd that LMSs cost more than distribution, financial, manufacturing software systems that run the company? It's mind-boggling. They cost many times 2 to 3 times more, and you just go, "Wow!"
So it gets to an entire different disconnect.
No, that's for another time, I guess.
But I mean, in a sense, it doesn't surprise me because there's an attitude within training And it's not entirely incorrect, but training is a function that has to exist because compliance is a function that does.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you must comply. Okay.
Yeah.
So you must have training. And if you must have training, then you must have the ancillary support products to run that training. So there is a logical stream there. And as a result, I think there is some artificially inflated prices because of that. But that's my opinion solely, and I will
I share that
Well-
one.
not attack anyone specifically.
Yeah.
Well, I liked what you were saying about the corporations try to encompass the talent management piece there, as well as any kind of HR compliance and things. And so I wonder, like, what is it that you're doing with xAPI? And what is xAPI?
So xAPI, we actually we don't say the word because xAPI and Zapier actually are other products that are in a completely different space. So just for the sake of confusion, we just say xAPI. And some people will still use Tin Can. It's all right. So xAPI, so the part of the LMS that would be relevant to xAPI is the part of the LMS that runs SCORM, or Shareable Content Object Reference Model, because everybody knows what SCORM stands for. SCORM was a standard way to package training. So, you know, we were actually having a discussion earlier about, if say you've created a training package for, I'll pick on Google Classroom. If I want to move that to Saba or to Risk or to Meridian or to Litmos or any of the other LMSs, I can't do that. I'd have to reformat that course and repackage that course in a format that's compatible with that LMS.
Right.
So the effort or the idea behind SCORM was to provide a standards-based packaging for content that if it works on one LMS, it'll work on any SCORM-compliant LMS. I'm going to pause for laughter.
Yes. It's called interoperability.
Yeah. Anybody in the audience who's actually worked with SCORM just thought that was the funniest thing ever. Because we know the SCORM specification, it's not that, honestly, it's not that good. It makes liberal use of words like may, should, could.
Yeah.
So you can have two 100% compliant, SCORM compliant LMSs that the content will work in one another.
Well, they could be interoperable.
They're
Possibly.
largely interoperable.
Yeah, right.
It mostly works.
Well,
But here's the thing. Go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, so just to back up a bit, so I always think of SCORM compliancy as just meaning that the learning objects are small and granular. And then that kind of solves your problem. Is that the case?
No. SCORM is the entire packaging around how the content pieces are brought together, how they report and communicate with the LMS to report completion, score, status.
Okay.
If you leave the content and come back, your suspension. When you leave, are you exiting the course and that's your attempt, or could you come back? Things like that are all encapsulated.
We actually got a comment from Ajay.
Huh?
Of course we did.
What he said, I was a little bit behind on these because it's referring to what Rick said at the start. AA equals poster child for sexy. And the other one he said was AA sexy into xAPI.
Well, there's another thing that we haven't talked about ever on the show, really, and that SCORM actually is truly the caterpillar, and then it morphs into another similar word called scorn. So just keep that in mind.
Yeah, that's not a typo. That's, no. But so SCORM actually did solve a lot of problems, and it actually did save millions and millions of dollars within the industry. As hard as it is to believe for those of us who have suffered through it, it actually was a good thing, and it still is. xAPI wants to solve the biggest problem with SCORM, and that is SCORM is a stateful API. And what I mean is SCORM reports to the LMS the state of the enrollment. I start out is not attempted, then I'm in progress, and then I've completed, and I've passed, or I've failed, and that's it. And maybe I get a score, maybe I get some other stuff along the way, but really that's it. Whereas xAPI really wants to tell a story. It's event-driven. So it tells the story of the student, of Anthony launched the course, Anthony clicked the button. It's a next button, let's be honest. Anthony clicked the next button. Anthony played a video, Anthony paused the video, Anthony completed the video, Anthony hit the next button, Anthony answered a question, whatever. At whatever granularity we want, we can capture the student's entire experience with the course, Experience API. That's where we get it made. And what's really neat about that is because we have each of those statements, when you combine those statements into an activity stream, you really can tell the story of, and since he's here, I'm going to pick on him. You can tell the story of Ajay and his experience taking this course. And we can see how Ajay moved through the course. Did he skip pages? Did he take the pretest? Did he not take the pretest? Blah, blah, blah. More importantly, if you get 1,000 Ajays, 1,000 different students who have 1,000 experiences, now we can really start to build personas, very granular personas on how our content or how our courses are actually being used. How are the students in mass interacting with that? And really, for me, that's the bang for the buck with xAPI. That's where it gets exciting.
Now, how many people are using xAPI that way?
592. No,
592.
There are a lot that are moving into it. One of the biggest problems that SCORM had to face was inertia. SCORM works, so xAPI is replacing something that works. And if it don't work, if it works, right, don't fix it.
Ajay just said, he just said, thousands of Ajays equals Ajay Army.
And my worst nightmare, and the worst nightmare of people all over the world. 1,000 wannabe thrash metalists running the earth.
Wait a minute. Ajay likes thrash metal?
He did. He was in a band.
Part of him I don't know yet.
Yeah. Oh, ask him for the picture. It's awesome.
Ajay, we got to talk about this. Interesting.
I've completely forgot where we were.
The Ajay Army won. You're gone. Yeah. One casualty.
Okay, so xAPI is it in GitHub?
A what?
So is it open source, and is it for viewers? And I guess I don't know either. Is it actually a platform, or is it an environment?
So xAPI is right now it's a specification similar to SCORM of if you want to build content, this is how the content has to talk back to. In the case of xAPI, we use a learning record store or an LRS. Some LMSs have LRSs, and other LMSs are adding LRSs, PDQ, and other alphabet soup. But they are working. I've had to drop out. They're working to make it a standard with IEEE, similar to how SCORM is. But the idea of xAPI is you would build content to be xAPI conformant, and what that would mean is it will launch one of a few different ways. And when you click, when you click a button, for example, it will generate a call back to the learning record store to record a statement that would read in humanese or in English, Anthony clicked this button. In the background, it's using JSON to identify me, to identify the button, to identify the activity that's happening or the verb, and then any other ancillary results or other information that we want to record with that statement.
Now, as far as using JSON and all the other components, I know Cornerstone and some others are implementing. I haven't seen to what depth they're implementing xAPI, but they're all claiming now to have, I guess, a portion of it or some compliance with it. Some of the major LMSs are starting to either claim that they're compliant or claim that they've implemented it. I've seen that with SCORM before. They all claimed they had it and they weren't even there yet. Even to this day, with 20 years after, well, actually not quite 20 years, but 18 years after SCORM 2004, we're still not 100% compliant out there. So it's sort of interesting. What do you see with some of these vendors as being compliant or at least being useful for people who do want to use xAPI?
Well, the first thing is it depends what you want to use xAPI for or what kind of data you want to collect. So xAPI actually has 4 APIs. There's the statement API, the I did this, Anthony clicked this button, Ajay failed the course, etc. And then you've got the other 3 are the document APIs, or the agent API, which talks about the student, the activity API that talks about, well, the activity, and then you have the state API that would mostly map to the suspend data in SCORM. So the suspend data would be environmental information from if I launch a course that uses xAPI, and then I want to send some environmental information, where I am in the course, what my score is thus far, preferences, etc. You could do that through state. And then when I launch it again, it'll just pull all that information forward. So depending on what you want to use, you're going to have to look for different levels of compliance. Now, most of the LMSs that say they're xAPI compliant are actually only compliant with the state API, or I'm sorry, with the statement API, the statement. So the I did this part. They don't necessarily have the other 3. And one of the other sneaky little things some of these LMSs like to do is they say, well, we're xAPI compliant, but they only accept statements from themselves. Okay, and there's a few that do this. There's no one culprit. I'm not going to call anybody out. There are a few that do this where the statements you look at, when you look at the LRS, they're very SCORmy. Anthony launched the course, Anthony passed the course, Anthony completed the course, etc. It's only taking statements from that LMS itself. Well, yes, there is xAPI data, but that's a level of compliance.
So would you say that's sort of like XML, where anybody can use XML, but unless you have what defines the XML, it won't make much sense to you?
Yeah.
Same idea.
That's probably a good analogy, yeah.
Okay. And as a quick aside, Ajay said, "Yep, heavy metal." And he said, "My job is done here."
My job is done. I have only one word for you, Ajay. Man of war. Anyway.
But yeah, so for xAPI, like I said, when you're looking at, if you are looking for new LMS, you're looking for something that's xAPI compliant, the first thing you need to do is find out what are your needs. I mean, the first question I always ask people is, why are you looking for another LMS? Why do you think the LMS you have now is not working? And sometimes it's, well, we don't like it. Well, the grass is not greener on the other side.
No,
yes.
it's just differently fertilized. And let's just say that with SCORM or with any LMS, most people don't even try to use it. We've seen our share. I think we've worked on 15 or more LMSs throughout the last how many years. And I'd say 80% of the people we've ever worked with don't use it. They use it for the bare minimums. You launched the course, you passed or completed it, you're done. That's it. Anything else? No, that's it. That's it. Just checks. Well, what do you get out of it? How do you analyze your data? Analyze? Why would you analyze the data? So that's what we see a lot of, and I still suspect it hasn't changed all that much out there. Some companies are more enlightened than others, but for the most part, and that's why I always wonder, you pay a lot of money to get an LMS, and then they don't use it for more than really, like you said, a list manager almost with checkoffs.
Yeah, the two I've seen is either that or they try to just stuff everything they possibly can into the LMS. Yeah. And I don't want to say use it incorrectly. Yeah. But they're using it off script. They're trying to do something that maybe wasn't designed for. Yeah. But even with SCORM, I've seen that too, where, hey, well, we had SCORM courses, but we had some that didn't work right. Oh, this LMS. Rah. Yeah. Well, yeah.
Ajay made another couple of comments. Well, first off, he says about Man-O-War, that's 3 words, Rick.
No, it's only one word.
It's one.
It's one. It's
right.
one.
And he also says, seriously, xAPI/LMS is L&D's opportunity to demonstrate value to the org/business.
All right, so we've established 2 things. One, Ajay does not know the difference between ham and bacon, and he also cannot count words. So we've established these 2 things now. But no, he's exactly right. One of the nice things that xAPI does, or what it affords us, or what it can afford us, is especially when we get into the state of personas, where we have all of these stories. And I talk about the story, if you've ever had a chance to meet or read any of the articles from Katie Stroud, she talks about the importance of storytelling in training. Vitally important. A good thing to know. Once you have the stories, you can build those personas and you can see how people are using your content. And if you're looking at internal training, I'm training my sales force, I'm training my machinists, etc. You can use that personas to see what impact this training has had immediately on their work product after having taken that training. Do we see an improvement? Do we see lateral change? Do we see improvement? Do we see problems? Maybe they learned how to do this, they were trained the right way, and now they're trying to do it the right way and are having problems. So we can actually start to show that cause and effect at a very high granularity that we just could not get with SCORM.
Well, so in that case, there's a lot that has to do, that I've been seeing lately about basically machine learning driven LMSs. So it sounds like xAPI could be used in conjunction with that. You could have it would help people find patterns, and then also have predictive capability.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, once you have that critical mass of student experiences, you've had enough students go through a course that you have that critical mass of data, absolutely, you could analyze it. And that's one of the other nice things about xAPI is now it's since Ajay is causing this whole rock and roll thing, we have more than a feeling. We can actually have actionable data that, yes, we can show correlations between events within the course that would predict success or failure, or we can show correlations that, this part of the course does not contribute in any way. We can remove it. And, a machine learning or some kind of analytics engine could go through that and spot that stuff probably in a heartbeat.
It just came up with something. I was thinking we should do a game, name that group. When you said more than a feeling, I was going Boston. Boston, anywhere? No. That'd be a fun game. They're looking for a
So
new
you
Jeopardy
have
host, so who knows?
Eclipse.
Eclipse? Total eclipse of the heart?
No. Or no, I don't know Manowar.
Oh, Manowar was fun. Eclipse.
It's
Yeah.
a Swedish thrasher band.
Oh, I think I know who they are.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not well versed in the thrash metal scene, if I'm honest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, Anthony. So, what does an xAPI expert listen to?
Oh, good Lord. I listen to all the music except country and Western.
Okay.
So let's see. In the last week, I've played Cab Calloway, War. William Devon, NWA. Actually, no, I played Alabama, their country.
Alabama. Yep. Well, they're kind of country.
Monkees,
I don't know.
the
They're kind of
Beatles.
country rock.
Monkeys?
Yeah, they're Southern rock, I think.
Yeah, Southern rock.
They're like right
They're
on
like
that
Leonard
edge.
Skinner, kind of.
Yeah.
Monkeys are
Skinner.
Leonard Skinner's like?
No. Alabama is sort of
Oh,
Leonard
okay.
Skinner like. The monkeys were in a class all of their own. It's
Yeah, I would.
thinking
I would say if Leonard Skinner is like on this side of the country rock fence, Alabama's on this side.
Yeah.
It's your NWA, Black Eyed Peas, Monkees, Beatles, Ventures.
The Ventures. Da. Yep.
Yeah,
Hawaii
I
Five-O.
pretty much. I'm all over the place musically.
You sound like me. Yeah. I know Susan likes everything too.
Mhm.
Almost everything.
Yeah, almost.
And I'm almost everything. I don't like everything, but
And we've got Ajay's input. He says, Ajay says Boston, Chicago, Alabama, America.
they're all good.
Wait, and there's a comma there, dude. Finish the thought.
Okay, who's that last one? All right, Ajay, who's the last one?
They all start with A.
Yeah.
So, Aardvark, Aerosmith,
America. Aerosmith.
Aerosmith, Aardvarkus.
Expected those Swedish bands.
Obviously.
ABBA.
That should be
ABBA.
That should be
Oh, you can't. ABBA's
another
in there.
LMS. LMS should be Aardvarkus.
There was a special once I was watching on Uriah Heep, and they were all talking about, I want to be ABBA. And they're going, man, we want to be like ABBA. And I was laughing. I go, ABBA had some pretty good songs. If you actually, they were kind of pop, but they also had some pretty good rock songs. And here's all the rockers going, I really want to be ABBA. And they're singing ABBA songs, and it's pretty good. Metallica does ABBA songs. They're funny. So yeah.
Wow, that last part actually made me kind of sad.
Which one?
Metallica playing
ABBA.
songs.
Yeah, they were playing Dancing Queen, if you could believe it.
Oh.
It was scary.
Wow, yeah, I am.
It's like
And by the way,
mindless
if you're listening to the
self-conscious.
show wondering what happened, nothing. We're talking about xAPI. It's keeping track of the data of things we like to listen to.
That's a good point. That was
Yeah.
very good. That's a good save there.
Now we have a trend of what at least 4 people in this universe like, and we know who to get rid of. So, wait a minute. Anyway,
Well, but that brings up a good ethical problem issue. It's like, okay, Tin Can, xAPI, SCORM. I mean, they're just part of this whole Borg, evil empire watching and monitoring everything we do.
Yeah.
Which is, I guess, what you need if you have an educational institution or your learning organization, and you have to show compliance. But it's interesting how we might say we don't like being tracked, yet at every turn we set things up so that we can do that.
Well, it gets worse than that. And Susan, it gets worse than that because some LMSs are now social LMSs. So therefore, there must be an element. They have to support cancel culture. So if you say something in the company that nobody likes, they cancel you. At which point you're erased from all roles and payroll and everything else, and you're gone. We're not that far from there if you think about it on those social LMSs. So, something to think about.
So this week
by the way, I'm not in favor of cancel culture. That's just pure ignorance, but that's another issue.
No, but you know what? It wouldn't surprise me if, we're going to downvote. Although, I don't know, because now YouTube is hiding, I don't know if you guys have seen this, they're experimenting with hiding the number of dislikes a video has.
I like that.
Oh, how funny.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like. Yeah.
And remember, hit that like button and subscribe to, is it the RelateCast channel? I'm not sure where this will be posted, but
yeah. You know what's funny?
But, that brings to mind the whole thing about people would troll and just hit dislike. So then I don't know what the true metric is, because people would do it just deliberately to game the system.
Well, it's like if you go to Amazon, look at the reviews. You got 5,000 5 stars and 10 ones. So of course you look at the ones first. And
so actually,
yeah,
there's an example of this right now. So if you follow entertainment media, they just released the Snyder Cut of the Justice League, right? Which was, in his defense, originally supposed to be 2 movies, so that's part of why it's 4 hours. So Warner Brothers then came out and said, well, we're not going to do a Snyderverse. So that's it. You got this. Now go away. So what happened is now, I'm going to mess up the name. Is it Godzilla versus Kong or Kong versus Godzilla?
Probably,
I forget.
Yep.
I forget which way it is. Well, so what people have done is they've review bombed Rotten Tomatoes and given the movie a bad score in retaliation of the Snyderverse.
That's funny.
So this this 100% has happened.
Yeah.
Not to mention everything that happens on YouTube. I mean, this is, Rotten Tomatoes, so this is real.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, this happens, and there's no reason to think it wouldn't happen in MS.
What's interesting though is something like xAPI, in theory, could actually differentiate and qualitatively classify the types of behaviors. So if it's repetitive things like repetitive dislike, then there could be.
So I want to be clear. xAPI wouldn't do that. xAPI could be the transport protocol or the language that you use to describe that activity. xAPI itself is really just a glorified language.
Okay.
It describes the semantics by which you would describe an event, such as Anthony clicked the next button, Anthony clicked the dislike button, etc.
Mm-hmm.
So xAPI itself wouldn't perform those analytics. That's just how you would record the event.
Okay.
But once you have that data, absolutely.
Yeah, it would be really interesting, especially, I can see how, there needs to be some kind of intervention for all these young children who are having to be educated through screens. And I've taken a look at some of the activities for, say, K through 5, and some people do well with them, but some people just don't understand where to go or anything. So in theory, something like that could be helpful in at least intervening, saying, guiding, saying, I see that you're doing this over and over and over. Pops up. Can I help you?
Well, so this is where, so what you're describing would be a persona, right? You're describing a type. I don't want to say a type of user, classification of user activity. So for those not familiar, so if once you start to get a critical mass of data on how users interact with your content, you look for trends. You look for, okay, who are the people who take the class? So, for example, I have a blended learning class. There's an online component. There's an instructor-led part. Or I have an online course that must be completed by, say, May 1st. Okay, you're going to have the personas, or you're going to have the class of users who will, as soon as they get this assigned, they're going to go in and complete it. Right away. They're just right away. Then you're going to have the personas that will wait, the AJs who will wait until the last possible minute and cram the last minute.
Naughty AJ.
Yep. Well, guess what? That music I'm hearing in the background means we're out of time. We actually exceeded our time, but hey, that's fun. Anthony, we'll have to have you on again and keep talking about this and get more into music. But this is fun.
Absolutely.
Thanks for coming and sharing. Actually, most people have no clue what's going on with xAPI, even SCORM for that matter. So this is a good service to the community, because a lot of people going, what? Did I pass? No. Yeah, it's
something that I learned something, and I deal with this stuff every day, but I don't deal with it on that level, and so it's useful to know what's going on.
Yep, absolutely. Well, Anthony, appreciate you coming back on and sharing with us, and Ajay, thank you for being the co-host today. So that was good. And Man of War is one word, so
it is,
at least for the rock group. Anyway,
I'm going to check it out.
And by the way, Man of War does a really good version of what's that song? It's the famous Pavarotti song, Nessun Dorma.
I was terrified. I was terrified you were going to say ABBA.
No, not ABBA. ABBA's holy. I don't mess with ABBA. So take care, everyone. We will see you next week. Actually, next week, Susan and I are going to be doing the 10 biggest issues with instructional design. That should make friends. That should make us a lot of friends. Anyway, have a good one. You guys take care, and we'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye.